Why Airbnb might be poised for growth. So Airbnb had their IPO, initial public offering, just a few days ago, and the shares took off to more than double the price of the IPO. Airbnb is currently valued at more than $1 billion US. The IPO was priced at $68 US a share, but on the first day of trading, it was trading at $150 US and closed the day at $144 US and 70 cents. The IPO will add billions to the fortunes of its founders and allow staff to sell up to 15% of their shares after the listing, instead of waiting for the usual lock-up period, creating more millionaires. Why do I think Airbnb might be poised for growth going forward? Hello everyone, welcome to mangomonkey Learns Money, and today I will quickly discuss Airbnb. If you don't know what Airbnb is, they basically is like a hotel booking website, except you don't actually book a hotel. You search for an accommodation in a particular city, and it will show you apartments and houses which are available for you to stay in. The owners of these apartments and houses are ordinary people like you. Sometimes the owners stay in the same house with you, other times the actual house or apartment is completely empty, and sometimes you don't even get to meet the house because normally they have a kind of automatic key box that has a lock on it, automatic lock, and you basically will be able to open up that box with a security code and you grab the key from the box. So Airbnb is a bit like a technology stock and also like a hotel provider. The good thing about Airbnb is that it is very capital light. So normally if you operate a hotel, you have to actually purchase the hotel building, right? So it's normally very expensive and it's very difficult for you to expand your business because you have to have a lot of capital. With Airbnb, the capital is provided for free by the owners of the homes. So Airbnb can scale without having to spend too much money, except for the advertisements. With this kind of business, you have to have scale. So you will find that in the first few years, the company tends to lose money because it spends more in advertising and in the software and platform developments compared to the revenue that it generates. But as the company gains scale, as more and more people use it, instead of other competitors, the costs tend to remain the same, but the revenue will shoot up so that the company turns into profitability. So anything after the break-even point is usually pure profit. So with this kind of network effect that Airbnb has, now that they have achieved economy of scale, any future revenue that they make is potentially pure profit. Now what's also interesting about Airbnb is that they have this thing called the Host Endowment. So it is a fund created by Airbnb that will be initially funded with 9.2 million shares of the Airbnb stock. If and when it reaches $1 billion in value, they begin to use the excess amounts to fund various programs and proposals that support the hosts of Airbnb. So that's the owners of the homes that the people stay in. So they're creating this kind of loyalty. They actually want to work with the hosts. It's quite different to other rideshare economy platforms where, for example, if you look at Uber Eats and DoorDash, they always try to work against the workers because they try to squeeze every single penny out of the workers. So if you look at the Uber Eats drivers, they actually do not make much money. And you'll find that over time, Uber Eats pay less and less money to the drivers. A lot of these platforms make it harder for the workers and drivers to work for them and earn money. They introduce different policies, different KPI metrics, and make it harder for the drivers and workers to obtain a good amount of income. It's like how eBay treats their sellers. Maybe 5 years ago, it was really easy to sell on eBay. There's not many performance metrics. Now, eBay start to introduce things like late shipment rate, defect rate, some customer satisfaction rate, which are good for the actual buyers, but Remember, they are not good for the sellers, so you sometimes need to work with the sellers, because without sellers, eBay cannot operate, right? A lot of sellers have started to give up on eBay and look at other platforms. So if you look at Airbnb, this is a very different approach. They want to work with the hosts, because they know that without the hosts, there will be no more Airbnb. And I think that makes complete sense. So by working with the host, they are creating this kind of brand loyalty amongst the hosts. So instead of going to another Airbnb alternative, the host will want to stick with Airbnb. It's similar to how small businesses may go back to the same bank that gave them a loan to start their business, because they know that the business wouldn't exist without the bank. So perhaps the bank can charge a slightly higher interest rate, and the business owner doesn't really mind paying a bit more because the bank has supported them in the past. So why do I think Airbnb might be poised for growth going forward? Well, to recap, the first reason I mentioned was Airbnb is capital light, so they don't need to have a lot of capital to expand their business, so this allows them to grow rapidly. Second reason is that Airbnb has already achieved economy of scale. They are the default provider if I wanted to list my home for rent. I know that if I go to Airbnb, I am most likely to attract a guest compared to if I try to list it in another platform. And as a host, I am probably too busy to create duplicate listings on two different platforms. And on top of that, there is a problem with the availability. What if I have two listings on two platforms and then two different guests book on the same day? It doesn't work, so I can only list on one platform. So what are people going to do when they can only list on one platform? They will of course pick the biggest, because it is free to list. You only pay when the booking is actually made and the guest actually has stayed in your home. So you want to list in the platform that's the biggest and has the biggest chance to attract a guest for you. Even if the actual fee that you get charged later after the sale has successfully been completed is higher compared to another platform, in a lot of cases it's better for you to get a guest and pay a bit more compared to not have a booking at all, right? The third reason is the Host Endowment fund that I mentioned to you before, where Airbnb tried to work together with the host and develop a kind of partnership with them. Now, the fourth and final thing I believe is a key factor in the success of Airbnb is the fact that after the health pandemic this year, more and more people will try to avoid hotels, because if you stay in a hotel, there are usually hundreds if not thousands of people going up and down the lifts and the corridors on a daily basis, right? So you walk past many different people every day. With Airbnb, a lot of them will be houses, so there is no lift. And even if it is apartment, there will be less people walking around on the corridors. So it's a bit less likely. In fact, it's a lot less likely for you to walk past someone. Yes, you do sometimes see the host, but the hosts are normally local people, so you have a bit of a gauge whether they are likely to have coronavirus or not, right? Compare that to walking past someone who is from another country. You don't know where they have been. Maybe they have been to China or wherever the coronavirus epicenter is at the time. They have been on a flight. The flight has hundreds of people next to each other, so you don't really know. It's a lot more risky that way. How is Airbnb priced anyway compared to other companies? Airbnb doesn't have a PE ratio because it is still making losses, but the price to sales ratio as of today, the 13th of December 2020, is around 20. So that means the stock price of Airbnb, which is currently $139 multiplied by the number of stocks that the company has issued, is around 20 times the value of its sales revenue. Airbnb did release its first S1 last month, and in this S1 they reported a net income of $219 million for the third quarter of the calendar year. So as of now, they do have made profit. So if you annualize this, you'll get to a PE ratio of around 95, which is probably not too bad. I mean, Amazon was trading at a higher PE ratio a few years ago. If you are in Australia right now, if you look at Megaport, which is a data center like next DC, in its infancy, the price to sales ratio is around 33, and I would say Megaport requires more capital compared to Airbnb. If you look at carsales.com.au in Australia, the price to sales ratio is around 12, and the trailing PE ratio is around 39. And carsales is a company that's been around for ages. They are probably not growing anymore. If you look at Seek, the job search website in Australia, the trailing PE is around 45, and the price to sales ratio is around 6. So I think with Airbnb being in its infancy and in its growth phase, it's quite possible for them to grow further from here on out. Will I buy Airbnb today? I normally don't like to buy IPO because usually there is a lot of hype surrounding IPOs. So what tends to happen is that the price goes up, but then it starts to come down a few days later. We'll see perhaps in a few days what happens to Airbnb stock. I will be keeping Airbnb on my watch list, and perhaps if it drops to a level which is near the IPO price or a bit more, then I will start to buy. I'm also waiting for the next market crash because at the moment in America there is more and more coronavirus cases. So I think we have perhaps a 50% chance of having another market crash. And certainly if there is another lockdown, I think in the short term, the Airbnb stock price will drop because people will lose the ability to have a holiday again. And there will be investors who are a bit nervous short term. And I will use that opportunity to jump into Airbnb. Did you enjoy this video today, guys? If you do, please remember to hit the like button and share this with one friend to help with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Hope you're doing well. And I will see you in another video.